Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Happy joy. Listen, I'm saying happy Tuesday because I'm in a good mood, but um, our topic tonight isn't really all that great.
It's a great topic. It's just not happy.
It's not a happy topic.
Yeah.
That's what I
I don't
meant.
look at it from that
Thank you.
standpoint.
That's true.
I think that we have a chance to enlighten people. We have a chance to share information. In an ideal world, we'd actually have some resources that we could provide to people that we're dealing with it.
Yeah.
But I think that there's an opportunity to help, and this might be happening to somebody, and they don't even realize that that's what it is. So
That's very true.
So I think that we have an opportunity to educate, we have an opportunity to inform, and maybe we have an opportunity to empower someone so they can get away from that situation.
Well,
You know,
we haven't
that's
talked about
true.
the situation. We didn't talk about the topic.
Okay.
Oh, that's true. We're talking all around
Right,
it.
right.
So, talking tonight about sexual harassment. And we know that can come in different shapes, forms, environments. And what Gary said is so true because a lot of people don't necessarily realize that that is exactly what is happening. And I just had an instance yesterday, which is really how we came up, decided to talk about this topic tonight, that I made a phone call for a plumber because I need one and told him what I needed on a voicemail. And when he called back, he said, I didn't know who this was, but when I realized it, it made me want to break out the bottle of lotion. And it just got worse and worse. And I got off the phone, obviously, but that was sexual harassment.
Well, the part that she's leaving out is that she had met this plumber through a family friend, so he had seen her before.
Yes,
So
he
it
had
wasn't
seen
like
me
she
before.
just
Exactly.
erroneously called somebody from the phone book or something.
But whether the person has seen me or not, it's still a horrible thing to have to experience when you're just calling for a service and someone feels like they could take advantage of you. And almost, like he wasn't so subtle about it, but I could see how someone can just slip things in there. Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, to me, is harassment.
Absolutely.
And, especially when you are like, excuse me? You know what I mean? Like, what did you just say?
It's unwanted. It's an unwanted advance.
It is.
Whether it's on the phone, a text message, and face to face, it's unwanted.
So those are the people to me that, like, if you go ahead and you use this person for whatever service that you're trying to use them for after they have shown you who they are, you could probably expect the worst. But in their minds, they're like, well, I already told her who I was. You know what I mean? So, because they're already crazy. So
I'm not comfortable in, re-victimizing the victim. I mean, people shouldn't do it. I mean, that's the basis point for me. Nobody should be out here sexually harassing somebody, especially in a post-Me Too world. That was, for years and years and years and decades even, we operated in a space where it was kind of okay to say and do certain things.
mm-hmm.
And, one of the things coming out of 2020, or I'm sorry, I don't want to put a date on it, but one of the things coming out of Me Too was that I felt like everybody learned or should have learned that it's just not acceptable behavior. And I mean, I don't want to come off as this holier than thou person. I mean, I certainly have cracked a dirty joke. I certainly have done my share of things in the past. But one of the things that I definitely had clarity about was post 2020. We're not even having any type of inappropriate conversations, no
Yeah.
long stares, no nothing. I'm not.
But do you think certain behaviors were all what they people know, I think, that certain behaviors are unacceptable, but it's just that the women, for fear of retaliation, for fear of whether it's a threat to a job, financial retaliation, emotional retaliation, or just physical retaliation, or fear of not being believed and made mockery of by other people, kept silent. And then the silence gave the perpetrator power. So I'm not subscribing to the theory that the people who are the perpetrators they didn't know. They didn't know what they were doing. I think they knew. It was just like, who's gonna believe her? Oh,
I mean, I'm not going to give anybody a crutch. I mean, it's wrong. That's my beginning and end. But I did. I worked for a number of years, as you know, in the beer industry, and within that, I mean, we had people at sales meetings tell dirty jokes on the microphone.
in a mixed platform, mixed crowd.
Yeah.
Sure,
So,
mixed audience.
I mean, and my point in saying all of that, and I don't want to tell on anybody, but my point in saying all of that was that it was an environment was created and nurtured that made it seem like it was okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't wrong. And your point was, or you made the point that, people know, and I think that people know, but if everybody is doing it and the CEO of the company and the director of HR is there and this dirty joke is told and they cackle in laughter.
Absolutely. That's an
You've
acceptance.
given them absolutely
Permission. Right.
license to continue.
And I mean, I'll even go a step further because, in liquor, and I think I've shared this with you all before, if you were a woman that worked in liquor, you were one of two things: drop dead gorgeous or really talented. There was no, there was nobody that was, that was kind of average looking, kind of
Talented in
average
sales.
avatar.
That's kind of how sales is, though, when it comes to women.
Okay.
But it was.
You've been there.
It was really put out there because the person that wasn't talented, that was beautiful, they were definitely harassed, and I mean, in some cases, they even used those weapons against other people. So I mean, it was, but there was not a lot of respect for that gender within that industry.
I agree with you definitely. I do believe that there's a sense of sixth sense, if you will, that what I'm saying is inappropriate. But who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna check me? You know what I mean?
Who's gonna check me?
Who's gonna check me? Well, right. And if all my peers, like you said, are doing it, and my, superiors
Senior management
right,
team,
are doing it,
or not stopping it.
and then, but what's okay for certain people may not be okay for you. For instance, when I was in corporate America and we would have the Christmas parties, and those Christmas parties, I've never seen so many people drink so much alcohol in my life, and I've never seen so many people come out their bodies, you know what I mean, and become somebody else like that.
Been there.
And they are all touchy-feely.
Crazy.
The boundaries are all being crossed. There's no personal space, respect. It is, and it's both sides. I've seen women do it. I've seen the men do it. And sitting back and watching this, I'm just like, how are they going to behave tomorrow when they go to work?
Right.
Like nothing ever happened is how they do.
Yep. That's exactly
It's almost
right.
like a free pass,
seen
like
it.
a hall pass to act a donkey at the Christmas party. And they blame it on liquor, and, we're just having a good time. It's just being festive. So whatever happens on, December 24th stays in that year.
Yeah.
You don't roll it over to the other year. But for me, at the age of 12, maybe, I was walking home from school, and usually I would take 95th Street. This time I took 94th Street because I saw a neighbor, and I caught up with her, and we could walk together. And so I went to a Catholic high school, so I had on a uniform. She had on pants. She went to a Catholic school. I mean, a public school. And as we were getting to like the corner that we were going to turn, somebody ran. I heard footsteps real quick, boop, 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 and they lifted up my dress and just took off running.
Oh.
And I was horrified. I mean, I boo-hooed and cried. I think I called my uncle. He went around looking for the guy because I told him what he had on. So at a very young age, I remember what it felt like to be violated.
Mm-hmm.
Sexually harassed. I mean, that was aggravated assault, actually.
Yes.
Or aggravated sexual
But that
assault.
story is very common, and from
Yeah.
from that age.
Then fast forward to my first job out of college. And I worked for an office. I work for a camera company, and I was in sales. But this didn't happen with a customer. This happened with one of my peers from a different department at the color copier. So we're just at the color copier waiting for his copies to finish so I can make my copies for my sales meeting. And now, mind you, I was always dressed to the nines, just very professional. He's leaving the copier and he pats me on the ass. Bam. And I looked at him. He was like, huh? Like, like, aren't you going to laugh at this? And I just stared at him, and all I wanted to do was just like punch him in the throat. And I just had to like not do it.
You saw yourself doing it, like you
I
physically saw yourself.
Yes, out of my body,
Yes.
right? And so I went to HR and I told them what happened.
Good for you.
And it was definitely that, well, what kind of pat was it?
Oh.
Did he accidentally hit you? It was literally
Was it a caress or was
What
it-
year was that?
downplaying. This was 1992, 1993 perhaps. But I felt like I was not hurt, even though I did the right thing. I didn't retaliate. I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't punch
Did you
him.
have anybody else
Right. I didn't do any of
retaliate?
those things. I went to HR. I filed the complaint, and all they made him do was apologize, and not on paper, because they didn't want a paper trail. I realized
course.
that, but to apologize to me, and that was it. Like, okay, you're okay. All right, everybody's good. Okay, let's go back to work. You know what I mean? And the very last time that this happened was only a few years ago. I was at the Bulls game. Very crowded. We're all leaving the Bulls game. Everybody's on the escalators coming down. Everyone's back to back. I had on a jacket, a blue jean skirt, some boots, and this guy grabbed my whole cheek with his hands.
Who were you with?
At that precise moment, just myself. Like I was separate from, I was by myself. But he grabbed my whole butt, and it was just horrible. Because
What was your reaction? What did you do?
I lost my mind.
You guys wanted to bleacher stairs? You didn't kick him down the
No, we
stairs?
were literally about to walk out the doors
okay.
of the stadium. I really lost my mind. I don't even know where those words came from. Probably from trauma from when I was 12 to 1993, and I lost it. Completely lost it. And his girlfriend says,
His girlfriend?
yes, his girlfriend. He didn't mean to do it. He didn't mean to do it.
You mentioned that
He didn't mean to grab my whole butt.
No, I mean he was, and he had a defender, so that's the even worse problem. He had somebody that was willing to.
And a woman at that.
He was
And
like-
his girlfriend.
Any defender is wrong. I mean, whether it was your mother.
No, I'm just
This
saying
is the
that.
killer. This is what she said after. He probably thought you were me. She was white with blonde hair.
She drank the Kool-Aid.
White with blonde hair.
But you mentioned
And she had black jeans on. But I digress.
the word trauma, and I was listening to you, and I mean I was really listening intently. And when you told the story, you have a natural speech pattern. The rhythm is always the same.
No.
Your rhythm was different.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean it was like you were.
Back at that moment?
Because
Because that's what happens.
No, because you were like measuring your words, and it's an indication that it was something that was uncomfortable. Like if you had been under hypnosis, I would have had to do more to get that out of you because it wasn't
Yeah.
something that you were comfortable talking about.
That's true.
And I mean that trauma goes on. I mean we talked pre-show in general, and we talked about how people go through these things, and it's most women have experienced this, and that I think that there's this huge trauma out there. I think that it's something that, in hearing you say it, I felt what you were saying. I felt what you were going through, and we just are kind of, passe about it. Like, yeah, everybody's gone through it. It's, this was my time. Almost like it was like being a Girl Scout or something.
Right, a rite of passage.
Yeah.
You have to go through it.
But I mean, men get sexually harassed too.
How does it look? Give me an
Yeah,
example.
I was going to say, what
How does
happened
it
to you?
look like? Yeah.
Well, not me personally in this instance, but there was a situation. One of my buddies, he was at work, and he's pretty. He works out a lot. He's in really good shape, and his manager, who was a woman, did his chest like this. Oh my God, you work out. Oh wow. And he was just kind of, and she's not a sister.
Oh, sheesh.
And so, it was, he
Because
kind of,
sometimes that makes a huge difference.
yeah. So he just kind of
Entitlement.
he kind of stood there and was just, he was just like, wow, and he said that the first thing that he thought was, what if I did that to her? He said not only would I have lost my job, but it probably would have resulted in criminal charges.
I was going to say,
100%.
lost
Yeah.
a job would have been the least of his concern.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
They set a new precedent for that case.
Did he go to HR?
no, because he needed the job,
Right.
and he
Okay.
knew that they were gonna. She was his manager, so
Oh,
it
wow.
was, it was a very, 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 and I
The
mean,
nerve of her.
I'll name the company. It's a very huge company, J&J.
Oh, they were sales reps.
He was like the sales leader, and he was like one of the sales reps.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
How quickly that table can turn, though. You know what I mean?
yeah. But I actually was sexually harassed, and not in a bad way. I wasn't even really all that miffed about it. Even what happened was, we were at a Christmas party.
Are you chuckling it? I wasn't that miffed about it.
No, I wasn't. I
Go ahead.
was
chuckling at that.
Yeah,
I was actually
I was.
quite pleased.
Okay. So then he wasn't harassed, but go ahead.
But what happened? What happened was one of the young ladies on my team got up and exposed her breast, and that's sexual harassment.
To whom?
Everybody.
Okay.
Like
so,
she was
Like,
in New Orleans.
check them out. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, okay. I'm the manager. Stop that. So, I mean, and it led to a whole backstory, but eventually I had to let her go.
Huh. Yeah. Wow.
And she was a sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so, I mean, for me, the backstory part of it was that, they wanted to, it was like she had messed it up for all black people. Like, we could never have another black person in that spot again. And that was crazy to me, because we had a dude that had stole $5 million from the company, and they hired a dude that looked just like him. And so, I'm like, well, hold it, wait a minute now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, this is different. And whenever somebody tells you this is different, everything is BS. Nothing after that is good. Nothing, it's not going to be a part where you like, oh, yeah, okay, I kind of,
You know,
I want to share my story.
Sure.
Yeah, I want to share. You want to say what you got to say before you forget?
I think I can remember.
Okay. So, I have been harassed sexually. One was an attempt when the guy was delivering my treadmill. He said a lot of unwanted things, and I just, even though he put a hole in my wall and was supposed to come fix it, I was just like, nah.
So this is recent.
That was a reason when I was like, you can't come back to my house, because just some of the things he said was,
weren't getting good enough.
yeah, and who lives here with you and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, no. So, but aside from that, what really sticks out in my mind when you talked about the whole pharmaceutical thing was, and this was in the, I was married, but I didn't have children. So this was a long time ago. When I was working for a big pharma company, my boss's boss's boss had a crush on me, and everybody knew it. He made it very clear. He was married. He was British, and very good-looking guy, but it was still sexual harassment because it was unwanted. So sometimes there are memes floating around social media like, well, if this guy said it versus this guy, it's not harassment. It's the same thing because it's a good looking guy and a not so good looking guy. No, it doesn't matter what the person looks like. If it's unwanted, it's bullying. It's harassment. And long story short, I think the turning point for me is that when we had a national sales meeting, we were in California, and I was asleep at 2 a.m. because everybody, like you said, everybody was having the freak offs in the hot tub, and everybody's drinking and acting a damn fool, and that's just not my jam. So I'm going to the gym. I'm gonna hang out with my girlfriends a little bit, and we're going to bed. So my girlfriend Lynn and I were in the bed. We were asleep because you have to have roommates.
Right.
Phone rings at 2 a.m. It's my boss's boss's boss. You know who he is because it's a thick British accent. And wanting, she answered the phone. He wants to speak to me, and she's like, she called him by name. He was like, yeah. Put Kim on the phone. She's like, the fuck? Like, I don't know who the fuck this is. Like, this is, and she's saying his name. He's like, yeah, it's me. Put her on the phone. He wants me to come to his room.
2:00 in the morning.
And they're in a whole different hotel because he's like way up there. At 2 o'clock in the morning, he's like, I'm going to send a car for you. It ain't happening, dude. Not never. It's never happening. So when you have big sales things like that, everybody's dancing, you're taking pictures, a photographer is floating around. They're taking pictures. He had a picture of me on his desk. So I got called into HR. And I'm like, why are they calling? I didn't know that he had a picture of me on his desk. I got called into HR because they wanted to know, was I being harassed? And I said no. Because I was afraid. Because I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I need my job.
Right.
Shoot, my husband and I had just bought a place in Hyde Park. And I'm like, I feared retaliation.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no.
And this was your boss's boss's boss. So this is
correct.
Three levels up.
Right.
Yeah.
So he didn't even really live in Chicago. He lived in the Chicago area. He didn't live in the city proper. So they informed me, and this is when I found out he had a big picture of his wife and then a little picture of me. Right on his desk.
That's so insane.
It is insane. And so that's when I found out to the degree of his crush.
His obsession.
And he would call me and say, did you watch, he wanted me to watch this movie. It was Halle Berry and Warren Beatty, Bullhorn or Bull something.
Bullworth.
Bullworth, yeah.
Never seen it.
Yeah, it's a black woman and a white man. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
And he's like,
Did you watch it?
Did you watch it? And I was, at the time I hadn't seen it. And he's like, I want you to see it. That could be us. What? They were so incensed by the womanizing and that, and him, the stalking with me, that they moved him to California.
Well, that's good. They protected you.
They protected me and they protected themselves, because what if I came back and put a lawsuit on the company? This is a big pharma company, but I mean, retrospectively, I may have handled that differently, but I can't lose my job.
Yeah, well, he could have kidnapped at this point, had a picture of you on his whole desk.
Yeah.
Like you
are
his second wife. Wife junior.
Or his work wife.
Yeah.
Gary's laughing because we had a conversation about that a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, about work wives and things like that. So, yeah, we had to slap his hand about that. But nevertheless, harassment comes in many different forms. It's work. It was the plumber guy who was Mr. Lotion.
Right.
So it just, the woman who stood up in the office in the meeting and exposed her breast to everybody in the room.
So there's a time when some people don't realize that what they're doing is actually sexual harassment. I had a friend relocate from Chicago to the East Coast, and that person is from the South. So, I'm not from the South, so I just say that there's a difference in the way that people communicate.
Right.
And this person was much more
Touchy-feely.
touchy-feely, huggy, even though it was a guy, right? And so when he moved to the East Coast, he's a friendly guy too, right? But he was trying to make friends with the female staff. And then very quickly they called him into the office. I remember walking around UKIC having a conversation with him on the phone. And he was like, "Could you believe that somebody said that I'm making them feel uncomfortable? And I when I laugh I lean on them and and I was like, "Don't do it."
Nothing wrong with leaning.
But he was so upset that he was right, leaner. He was trying to defend his position like I didn't do
Lean
anything
president.
wrong. Lean king, queen, throne holder. And I was trying to explain to him, it doesn't matter what your intentions are. It's how you're making someone feel. Your body on their body, whether it's in jest, whether it's in play, whether it's in leave space. You cannot encroach upon their space.
Right.
That is their personal space. And so I just remember walking around the track over and over again, trying to like
And if they tell you no,
have this conversation.
Yeah.
And I was like, everybody doesn't have to be friends at work. They want to be coworkers. They don't want to be friends. They don't even know you. You know what I mean? So,
correct.
Quit trying so hard and it'll be okay.
I mean,
But he really didn't think that he was doing anything wrong.
I'll say this. I think that, once it's really truly ingrained in a person to act in that way, I don't think that you can fix that person. I think that they get better at hiding it. They will not do the obvious stuff. But if you have been in that mindset, all along, then you're just going to be more discreet about it. You're going to, try to select your victims better. You're not going. I don't think that people are repairable in that situation. I think that if you are too far gone, you're never going to get that. You're never going to be brought to or get to a place where you can function and behave. I just don't believe that in my heart.
I see your point, and I actually know someone who's in a position of power who makes comments to the people that work for him. And they're usually, like, oh, you need, come on out here and work out, and so which is a subtle passive aggressive way of body shaming you into being healthier, which is inappropriate for the workplace, or being over complimentary on someone's hair, which is inappropriate when you are in a work environment. You don't comment on people's looks.
Yeah.
Unless you are specifically asked, how does my hair look? You leave it alone. I remember flying with somebody whose lace front literally was lifting up. And I was like, oh my gosh. So someone asked me, I think it was a passenger, a gate agent. You want to talk about her hair? I said, no. And there was another black woman who's asking me, a black woman, to tell this sister, your hair needs to. I said, no. That's not my place.
Yeah.
She came out here. She knows what she looks like. We look in the mirror constantly at work because, so I was like, that's not my place. She is not going to go to HR and tell anybody that I, said something to her about her appearance.
Yeah.
No. She was like, oh, you know what, you're right.
She was in uniform.
That's right. I said, she was like, you know what, you are 100% right.
And I mean, I definitely believe that you get to a point where you're like, man, I know that this is probably not going to go left, but in case it does, I wouldn't have a leg to stand on. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just, man, you're going to have a crooked weave on this today.
Right.
If I have to fix it, because I'm not helping
Right.
you. I'm not doing anything. I'm mind my business.
Right. Now, if you ask me, like, oh, help me get this. Girl, I got you.
Man, hold on,
But
let me
I'm
get-
not getting ready to come in here. I'm not doing that.
Not the saliva.
Girl, your weave
Not
and
the
your
saliva.
eyebrows. Your weave and your eyebrows crooked. You
I
making me
am
dizzy.
not doing that.
No. I mean, it. Like I said, after Me Too, it made me really look at it different. And I don't know, there was something in my early career that just let me know that that's not how they're gonna get me. I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna come to work and be on time, and I'm gonna leave these women alone. I'm not doing it.
Won't catch me.
Not on that. You know, you catch me on something else, but not on that. I'm not. Nah, you never get me on that.
Yeah. Well, good.
I mean, our instances weren't horrific. I think mine have been actually physical. But there are cases that this gets really, really bad, and people are really, really scared. You know, because I felt very not just offended, but I did feel violated.
The plumber guy?
The plumber,
Absolutely.
when I was touched both
Oh,
times,
yeah, I forgot about that.
I definitely felt violated. But I mean, like, I use the word obsession because I feel like that's what that was. I felt like that was way more than a crush. Someone calling you and saying, "I'm gonna send a car for you,"
Yeah.
and you have a picture that you are constantly looking at. You're fixating on me. You know what I mean? So that could have ended very differently.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you know, like you said, that guy didn't want to lose his good job. You needed your good job
Right.
at the time. Sometimes people don't know what to do in a position of being coerced.
Yeah.
You know.
I had a situation where someone that worked for me, I liked them and I wanted to go out with them. And I think I told you all the story before. And, you know, I was talking to her, we had discussions about it. And she's like, hey, I don't go out with people that I work with. And I'm like, you should quit. And she did.
Oh, I remember.
Yes.
And they were together for
Then together, I mean, it was a great situation, but she just kind of took that work part of it out of it, and we got on with
that
the
was a
dating.
big gamble for some.
It
No, you know, what, I'm gonna give this a shot. Here's my resignation. Hey,
Yeah. So, did you ever think that you were going to marry her?
I think I liked her that much.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you did. I couldn't remember. I know we had this discussion, but I couldn't remember what you said.
that's a huge sacrifice.
It really is.
For a what if.
It is.
I mean, you know, I don't want to make it seem like
Gary
that
got
was
game.
No,
all I know.
no.
Gary does have game.
We had conversations before, and you know, it wasn't like it was like, you know, 3 seconds later she was like, all right, I quit. No, we talked.
Oh, Gary. So he was grooming her. Now, if you quit your job,
No, I mean, we hadn't had that level of conversation, but
I could do for you.
but I told her, you know, I let her know, you know, hey, I'm interested in you and I want this to work. I need my good job too. So, you know, how does this work? And she's
You're over
like,
there whipping up chicken breasts and guacamole every night.
she's like,
Catfish, grilling stuff.
She said, it doesn't work for me. You know, I can't work with you and on you at the same time. And I'm like, okay, well, you should quit.
And on you. Okay. All right, freak daddy.
freak mama.
But you know, in that same situation, that would have been sexual harassment.
Yeah.
You know, especially if she, you know,
You telling somebody to quit their job?
or you know, basically you can't keep working here. Wow, it's gonna happen. You know, I mean, I basically was saying that to her, and you know,
But she wanted it. So it wasn't really harassment. But if you were a guy that she didn't want the advances, it would have been harassment.
I
But
think
she was
there
giving
is a
you-
thin line.
She was giving you buying signals. Like,
I mean,
yeah.
let me say this. I don't want to put a title on it, but I definitely know that it, you know, an inch this way or an inch that way, it
Yeah.
could have worked out very differently.
For sure. I agree with that.
I mean, it, you know, the story clearly had a great ending, and or as good as it could have,
Right.
and all of those sort of things. But it was also something that I did, and you know, if the Gary 2024 would not do that.
And what if her buying signals were just in his head? What if he, you know what I mean? Like, she really wasn't giving a buying signal. Right.
But you said,
Right.
you gave me the pen and you smiled at me. I thought,
But you already signed the lease. Right.
I mean, it was, you know, I don't in my mind and in my heart, I don't believe that I was harassing her, but I certainly was persistent. Certainly expressed how I felt about her.
You kept giving her gentle nudges.
and see, persistence, that could be harassment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not denying any
Yeah,
of that. I'm
that's
not
what-
saying that I didn't.
The thin line there.
Yeah. That could be
You were
harassment.
definitely teetering and tottering.
Well, thankfully it worked out, in, you know, in
Yeah.
both
Right.
of our favor. But
But
it
we
was
know better.
now,
Right.
yeah, 2024. No.
Oh yeah, for sure.
2024, I'm just gonna know that you are good looking. I'm just gonna know that I'm attracted to you.
In your
And I'm-
head.
right? And you're gonna basically have to sign a release before we can do anything. I'm not initiating that conversation.
I have an NDA right here.
Right.
We could just
Right.
e-sign this.
Right.
Right. So I'm not. 2024, I'm gonna walk away from something. You know, I'm not gonna even make the comment. You know, you should have called me when I was younger. It's like, nah, I'm good. No thanks.
You have to be.
If you want to keep your stuff, I mean,
Absolutely.
If you want to stay a free man, it's not even just, like keep your job or what. I want to be on the outside, not
Yeah.
on the inside.
yeah.
You know better, you do better.
For sure. All right, post Me Too movement. Listen, guys, we have had our own experiences. We do want to hear what your experiences have been with sexual harassment. So please, please leave us a comment. Share your stories. We can only learn from each other, especially with something that unfortunately is not going away.
And if
Yeah.
any of you all know of any resources, whether it be domestic violence hotlines or in counseling services,
Yeah.
please share that information because I mean we don't. One of the problems is that a lot of people look the other way. A lot of people have resources that
Yeah.
they can provide and they don't. So this is a chance for us to be a better us. And if you know of or have those resources, please provide them in the comments. It would be
In the
greatly
comments, please don't text us individually
Yeah.
or inbox us messaging. That's great, but we need it in the comments because there are some people who are sitting home and they're going through these situations that are similar to what we just described, and they are silent victims. They're afraid to say anything like I was. I didn't want to lose my job, fear of retaliation. So you just never know. You could be a resource to someone.
Send that lifeline out there.
And if you are witnessing this and you're not saying anything or speaking up, you're not a witness, you're an accomplice.
No. Just because they don't want to share does not make them an
No,
accomplice.
I'm saying, and I mean, if a person
You're victimizing the victim.
no, not the victim, but I'm saying if there's a person that's peripheral to the situation, they're not involved, but they see it, and they're not speaking up or providing a resource, you're an accomplice at that point. You're helping that person.
Well, you're definitely not a good Samaritan. So just help, please, and put your resources in the comments so that others can see them. Even if those people are just who are silent victims are looking in the comments and taking notes and writing or screenshotting, at least they have it. So, all right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Thank you for tuning in.
We
Good
appreciate
night.
you guys.
See you next
Have a
week.
great evening.
Yep, we're looking forward to reading these comments. And it's going to be, there, and it's